Consistency is day in, day out, over and over and over and over until you're dead. That's consistency. Welcome to another episode of Living Life in Tune. I'm your host, Adam Lee. This is the show where we talk about keeping things in tune in our life, the important stuff, man. There's nothing worse. I'm a musician, so there's nothing worse than picking up an instrument or hearing an instrument that's out of tune. It produces a terrible sound and is not pleasing, and you have to tune it, man, if you want that thing to sound good or produce anything of value. So that's what this show is all about, keeping things in tune and keeping our life in tune so that it's pleasing and that it adds value. And so this is episode 20. Hard to believe this. I've been doing this for 20 weeks. I've been releasing a weekly episode every Friday, and this is number 20. So thank you to everybody who's been listening and liking and commenting and all that stuff on my content. Really, really excited to just keep doing it. I'm sharpening a skill here of communication. Episode 20, I'm calling consistency. In the spirit of 20 weeks in a row, I thought I'd talk a little bit about consistency. This is a very important thing in our life. Any stage of life, consistency is what's needed. In any stage of life, consistency is what's needed. So if you're a teenager, consistency is what's needed in those grades. If you're a young adult, consistency is what's needed early on in your workplace and early on in your relationships. If you're middle-aged, 35 to 45 or something like that, whatever middle age is these days, consistency is what's needed with your kids, with your spouse, at work. And if you're older, consistency is what's needed. So in any stage of life, consistency is what is needed. Consistency and humility are connected. So I hope I'm able to communicate that in this episode, that consistency and humility are connected. They go hand in hand, and here's why. Because not everybody claps for consistency. You're not going to get a standing ovation for your consistency. So often it'll go under the radar, it'll go unnoticed, unappreciated, and it takes a great deal of humility to just say, you know what, I'm going to be consistent anyway. I don't need applause, I don't need appreciation. I have chosen to be consistent. And so it goes with humility. And here is a couple of things about humility. Anybody can do it right once or twice. Anybody could do anything right once or twice. But when it's done right consistently, that is what makes all the difference in the world. I'll give you an example. What if I just decided to treat my wife with love and respect once? Woo, that would not fly. That is a no-fly zone. If I just decided to treat my wife with love and respect just for like a week, well, anybody could treat their spouse with love and respect for a week. It's when you treat your spouse with love and respect consistently that makes a difference. When you think about consistency, like what does that mean? Does that mean I did it for a year? Well, yeah, that can mean that you did it for a year. You were consistent for a year. But how about if you evaluated in the course of your entire marriage? If you stayed married for 30 years and you only treated your spouse with love and respect for one of those years, all of a sudden we're not consistent anymore. So consistency is day in, day out, over and over and over and over until you're dead. That's consistency. Anybody can do it great once or twice. What if I apologized for a bad attitude once? Okay, that's not consistency. I need to consistently apologize for bad attitudes. Doing what's right over and over, that is what consistency is. Consistency separates you from average. Okay, when I was in high school, I was average. It's one of the greatest regrets of my life, but I just did just enough to get by in high school. A C student. It wasn't until very later in my high school life where I just tried to apply myself and get good grades. But consistency is what separates you from average. It's when you arrive to work consistently that separates you from average. my son's in baseball right now, so we're trying to encourage him. He's pitching a little bit, and we're trying to instill in his mind, even at 7 years old, that it's when you throw strikes consistently, that's when your coaches will notice you. That's when that's when your stats go up. When you consistently strike guys out. it's anybody could throw a strike, but it's when you throw strikes consistently that will separate you from average. And so having a great attitude, anybody can do it once, but it's average to have a good attitude every once in a while. Average people have positive attitudes every once in a while, but when you have a positive attitude consistently, day in, day out, now you're going to be separated over and above average. Being an excellent team player consistently, get good grades consistently, manage stress, manage pressure consistently. I'm telling you, the people that rise above average status quo are the people that can do the simple things consistently. One other thing about consistency, what it does is it proves your competency. Consistency proves competency. When you're always on time for work, it proves out that you're capable, that you're competent to arrive to work every day. When you always, again, have a positive attitude, it proves your capability to have a positive attitude. When you're always completing projects on time or early, like it's your habit, it's your reputation, it's your consistency. You always complete work on time or early. That shows that it proves your competency to complete work on time or early. It just shows everyone around you your competency when you're consistent. When you, the problem is again, humility plays into this big time. It takes humility to stay consistent, because here's the tricky thing about consistency, that our consistency becomes other people's expectation. That's a big one, guys. Our consistency becomes their expectation. If we're excellent in an area, it just becomes the expectation of the people around us. Consistency is not wildly praised, okay? Again, back to the analogy with treating my wife with love and respect. I need to treat her with love and respect every single day, day in, day out, day in, day out. Well, guess what that becomes after a long time of doing that consistently? It becomes her expectation. Your spouse is going to be expecting you to show up each day with that type of love and respect, because, again, your excellence became their expectation. And it takes humility to deliver that day in and day out, because there's not going to be a standing ovation from your spouse every day after you treat them with love and respect. It's just not how life works. So it takes humility to provide that and bring that to the table each and every single day. And oftentimes our consistency is not seen until it's stopped. This is why humility is so important, because if you're in the habit of doing something consistently and then all of a sudden you stop, your consistency became their expectation, and you just stop doing that one thing, now it's going to be noticed. Hey, I noticed you're not doing that anymore. Hey, I noticed you're not showing up on time anymore. Hey, I noticed you're not putting in all of your effort anymore. And all of a sudden your consistency, it became noticed only when it was stopped. So you got to stay humble again and realize, you know what, you're right. I started to slip on this thing, and I need to show back up with consistency again. I need to humble myself. This is why it takes humility. 35 years of doing your job. You know what you're going to get? A pat on the back and maybe even a grill. But consistency is not wildly praised, and that's why why it takes humility to pull it off. But again, guys, it separates you from average. It proves out your competencies. Here's another thing it does. It gives your talent a place to thrive. I don't think I've ever thought about this until this podcast, but consistency really gives your talents a place to grow and a place to thrive. Being talented is one thing, but consistently showing up with that talent and providing it to the world, that's a whole nother story. Anybody could be talented, As a matter of fact, I'm of the belief that everyone has been given God-given talents, God-given gifts and ability. Anybody could be gifted, but can you consistently show up and provide that gift in your life? That's the challenge. Being talented every single day, consistently developing that gift, consistently offering that gift as a service, consistently teaching that gift and passing it on. So again, consistency helps develop our talents. And one of the things I'm gifted in, again, I say this a lot, is music. And if I put that thing down, if I don't practice with music, if I don't write with music, if I don't consistently provide that gift to the world, well, guess what? My gifts and talents, they'll go underdeveloped. They'll go underutilized. And that's not a good thing. So anybody can show up and crush it on stage once. Anybody can show up and crush it on stage twice. But can you show up and crush it on stage every single time? That is consistency, and it develops your talent. So it gives your talent a place to thrive. I want to move away from what consistency provides and start talking about what kills consistency. These are the beware ofs, because they will kill your consistency. So if you need applause, that will kill your consistency. Like I said, it takes humility to consistently show up in certain ways in our life. And if you need that appreciation or that pat on the back, and you need that applause from people, guess what? You will not be consistent, because consistency goes unnoticed. So applause is a consistency killer. If you don't rest and recharge, it will kill your consistency. Rest is so important. There should be refreshing each and every day. There should be enough energy and enough rest that when you wake up in the morning, you're ready to go at it with consistency one more day. And even if you're not ready, you have enough rest to go at it one more day. But I will tell you right now, if you're not rested, if you're not recharged, if you're not fresh in the morning, it's going to kill your consistency. You're going to let things slip. You're going to become average. And it's all because you're not resting. So rest is a consistency killer. Here's another one. If you take on too much at one time for yourself, if you're a ball hog and you don't know how to delegate, and you stack your plate up so high with items, this will kill your consistency, because nobody can be consistent with a full plate all the time. You have to learn how to delegate, and you have to know your capacity on your plate. And if you take on one more extra thing or two more extra things, guess what it's going to do? It's going to kill your consistency. You're going to take on two more things, and your overall consistency over all of those areas is going to go down. And you're going to need to bring people into your life to delegate, to train up, to equip and empower, to take that thing off your plate and run with it and raise them up so that your consistency doesn't die. Here's another thing. If we take things personally and are easily offended, nothing will kill your consistency faster than being offended. You need to be unoffendable in your consistency. Again, I'm coming back to it. This is the humility piece. I'm weaving humility through this whole discussion, because if you're easily offended and you take things personally, your consistency is going to stop. You're going to give up on things. You're going to quit. And that's not how God intended you to live your life, to get offended and then quit. That's called being a child. So that's a consistency killer. If you're holding a grudge, that can kill consistency. It's kind of along the same lines that you take humility, you forgive people. Grudge holding is a killer. How about if you're unwilling to have difficult conversations? If you're conflict avoidant, if you're not willing to approach difficult conversations with grace, love, and truth, it will kill your consistency. Because over time, what happens is, if you don't have difficult conversations, it breeds resentment. It allows you to hold on to that grudge a little bit tighter, and all of a sudden, you're going to stop showing up. You're going to stop overperforming. You're going to stop over delivering, and your consistency is going to take a back seat. People are going to notice that you're not as consistent if you're not willing to have difficult conversations and get through necessary conflict. So here's another one. These are consistency killers. If you can't see the big picture, if you are trying to just dig in and be consistent, and you don't have a clear picture of why and the big picture and the destination, your consistency is going to die. Very, very few people can stay consistent for the long haul without knowing where they're headed, what their objectives are, what they're trying to accomplish in the end. You need a clear picture of that end game. You need to see the big picture, or your consistency is going to die. So if you don't see instant results, sometimes that can kill your consistency. Guys, these are all the ways that consistency dies day in and day out. We need to be aware of these things. And here's another one. If somebody else starts to do something that you've always done, man, what do you do when it appears that you got a little competition in front of you? You need to stay humble and realize that other people are going to contribute in the same ways you're contributing. And sometimes maybe even they're going to be doing a better job at it. It should not be an excuse for you to quit your consistency. You need to not allow those things to bug you. So really quick, consistency killers are applause, lack of rest, taking offense, if you're easily offended, if you're holding grudges, if you're avoiding conflict, if you can't see the big picture, if you need instant results. These are all going to kill your consistency. You need to stay humble, my friend. Stay humble and don't worry about these things because they will kill your consistency. Remember, all you have to do is stay consistent. It's going to prove your competency. It's going to separate you from average. It's going to work your talents out. You're going to get stronger muscles for the things that God has called you to do, and your consistency won't die if you stay humble. So that's my podcast today. Listen, consistency is what it takes in every stage of your life and everything that you're doing right now. All your goals, all of your objectives, all of your relationships. Consistency is the answer. And you need to show up and provide that consistency to your life. One more thing is that consistency will get you through difficulty. Okay, I saved this for the end. It's a little bit heavier. Remember the humble thing. Everyone hopes that their life stays consistent, and everybody around you is hoping that you stay consistent. So in a lot of ways, men, women, people depend on you to stay consistent. Like your kids depend on you to be a consistent dad, to be a consistent mom. Your spouse is depending. A lot of people are depending on you to stay consistent. Your boss, your mortgage company, they're depending on you to stay consistent. And so the trials and tribulations and difficulties of life have the capacity to kill also our consistency. And going through difficult times, we can let things slip. And I want to just encourage you today, don't let difficulty stop you from being consistent. You know, if somebody hurts you, don't let that stop you from being consistent and loving them and forgiving them. Don't forget that we serve a consistent God who has consistent grace, consistent mercy. His love for us is consistent. His plans for us are consistent. So as you tread through difficulty today, allow consistency to get you through it. Even though if it hurts like hell, allow consistency to just keep pushing you forward. Stay humble. Let it bring you above average. Let it prove your competency, even through life's difficulties. Show up over and over and over again. Be consistent. I'm telling you, it is the key to life. Consistency is the key to life. This is episode 20. I have been consistent with getting in front of this camera and hooking up this microphone, setting up this light for 20 weeks in a row. My buddy told me one time, as it relates to fitness and losing weight, he said, most people underestimate what 6 weeks in the right direction can do for their life. Yeah, they don't realize how much weight they can lose, how much better they can feel, and how much overall much more healthy they will be with just 6 weeks in the right direction. Man, that's a big deal. And so I want to encourage you, 6 weeks in the right direction. This is week 20 of this podcast. Do the right things 20 times in a row and tell me what happens. Do the right thing 20 weeks in a row. Your whole entire life's going to turn around. And so I'm praying that for you. May you stay consistent. May you realize that you've just crossed the start line with consistency, even if you're middle age. You have the rest of your life to deliver this. And so don't let these things kill your consistency. Stay humble, stay consistent, stay contributing, stay in tune. Remember this, your life matters, so keep it in tune.